The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus went off to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, or of Tiberias, and a large crowd followed him, impressed by the signs he gave by curing the sick. Jesus climbed the hillside and sat down there with his disciples. It was shortly before the Jewish feast of Passover. Looking up, Jesus saw the crowds approaching and said to Philip, "Where can we buy some bread for these people to eat?" He only said this to test Philip. He himself knew exactly what he was going to do. Philip answered, 200 denarii would only buy enough to give them a small piece each. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said, "There is a small boy here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what is that between so many?" Jesus said to them, "Make the people sit down." There was plenty of grass there, and as many as 5,000 men sat down. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and gave them out to all who were sitting ready. He then did the same with the fish, giving out as much as they wanted. When they had eaten enough, he said to the disciples, "Pick up the pieces left over, so that nothing gets wasted." So they picked them up and filled 12 hampers with scraps left over from the meal of 5 barley loaves. The people, seeing this sign that he had given, said, "This really is the prophet who is come into the world." Jesus, who could see they were about to come and take him by force and make him king, escaped back to the hills by himself. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise the Lord Jesus Christ.
So you would wonder that Jesus keeps doing this, but you would wonder why he's doing that. That in a gospel like we hear today, that he tells Philip that where can we get bread? Where can we buy enough bread for these people? And he says that he tried to test him. He was just doing this to test him because he knew what he was about to do. So why would Jesus just decide to ask somebody that, where can we get bread? We find in the Gospel of Mark, he's asking blind Bartimaeus, "What do you want me to do for you?" He knew that he wanted to see again. And in many places, he's asking people, "What do you want me to do for you? Why are you here?" If you think about the centurion asking him, "Come to my house and make my servant well." So he's always trying to ask the people what they definitely want from him. And at times, that points to the importance of prayer, that of course God knows what we want from him. God knows what we need. He still wants us to ask. He still wants us to make an act of faith. He doesn't want to do everything and we seated. He wants us to be free to ask. He wants us to be free to demand. He wants us to make use of the freedom that he has given us as a gift. And Philip, of course, when he asked, "Where can we get this?" Of course, we have to get it from him. He is the source of everything. Jesus is God and is the source of everything that we have in this world. Philippians chapter 4 verse 19 says that I'll provide every one of your need according to my riches in glory. So he is the great provider. He is the one who gives us everything that we need. And the answer would be, "Lord, you can give them the food that they need." But Philip does not even answer the question. Where can we get it? We can get it from a shop, we can get it from a nearby town, we can get it. He said, no. Even 200 denarii would not be enough. It would not be enough. That was not Jesus. Well, that was not the question Jesus was asking. He was not asking what will be enough to be able to feed these people. He said, where can we get this? And he's expecting Philip to point towards him and say, we can get it from you. And then Andrew, on the other part, answers the same question, and he says, we just have this. This is what we have alone. But this is nothing that can feed these people. This is nothing compared to the crowd that is here. And there is a reason why the gospel makes reference to barley loaves, because barley loaves was really bread that was made for the poor people. And this is what Jesus makes use of. And this is what Jesus wants to make use of. Our poverty. He wants to make use of our weaknesses. He wants to make use of that little thing that we feel it is nothing. That little effort that we feel is nothing. That little time that you want to say, I want to spend this 5 minutes before God, but I know it's nothing compared to the hours that I have in a day. Jesus wants to make use of that little contribution that we have to make, that little effort of ours. That is what he wants to make use of. And then, if you want, today, we are starting the Eucharistic narrative in John's Gospel, chapter 6. And in the following days, you'll be hearing about bread, bread, bread. I am the bread of life, and everything about those who eat this bread. And this is really about the Eucharist. Jesus giving up of himself. He's giving himself to the people. In John's Gospel, unlike the other Gospels, the Synoptic Gospels, Jesus himself hands the bread to the people. Okay? He was up the hill, he came down, he hands himself to the people, he hands the bread to the people, and he goes back when he realizes the people want to make him king. So he is God who comes amongst us, but he still remains God. He's God, he comes down to us, and then he says that he gave to the people who were already seated, people who were seated and we are ready to receive him. And it reminds us of the disposition that we have to have. A disposition of being down there, sitting. Okay? A disposition of humility to say that we are unworthy to receive him. We are unworthy to have him under our roof. We are unworthy to receive him as Jesus into our hearts because we are dirty, we are weak, we are broken people. And it is only when we are seated, only when we are disposed to receive him, when we are humble, that is when he truly comes into our hearts. It's when we say that we are unworthy, then he is ready to come to us and make us strong. And he wants to make use of our weaknesses. He wants to make use of the barley loaves, that which we feel is nothing compared to the people that we have to feed. That is what he wants to make use of. Jesus continuously invites us into his presence. And he wants us to come to him as we are, not as we want to be, as we are, broken as we are, weak as we are, sinful as we are. And he wants to make use of that. And he wants to reach out to us and to give us the gift of himself. Because without him, we can do nothing. We therefore ask him for a gift of humility as we celebrate this Eucharist. We ask him for a gift of humility, that he may bless us with great humility, that we may be able also to offer up our poverty, our weakness, our sinfulness to him, and that he may be able to make use of us in everything that we do, that whatever thing we do may continuously be for his greater glory.